Welcome back to History Decoded, where we unravel the mysteries of the past and bring ancient legends to life. Today, we dive into one of the most famous and enigmatic conflicts in human history, the Battle for Troy. Was it just a myth, or could there be truth behind the legend? Let's explore the events that led to the fall of a mighty city and the stories that still resonate through the ages. The myth and the origins of the conflict. Our story begins not just with mortals, but with the gods themselves. In the ancient world of Greece, myth and reality often intertwined, and the Trojan War was no exception. At the heart of this tale was a rivalry between three goddesses, Hera, Athena, and Aphrodite, that would set the stage for a war that lasted over a decade. According to legend, it all began with a golden apple. At the wedding of Peleus and Thetis, the gods were gathered in celebration, but one goddess, Eris, the goddess of discord, was not invited. In retaliation, she threw a golden apple into the crowd, inscribed with the words, "To the fairest." Hera, Athena, and Aphrodite all claimed the prize, but only one could be chosen. Zeus, not wanting to decide himself, passed the judgment to a mortal, a young Trojan prince named Paris. Each goddess tried to bribe him. Hera promised power, Athena offered wisdom and military glory, but it was Aphrodite's offer that swayed Paris. She promised him the love of the most beautiful woman in the world, Helen of Sparta. And with that, Paris awarded the apple to Aphrodite. This decision would have dire consequences for Paris and for Troy. Helen, however, was already married to King Menelaus of Sparta. When Paris traveled to Sparta, Helen fell in love with him, thanks to Aphrodite's intervention, and together they fled to Troy. For Menelaus, this was not only a personal betrayal, it was an affront to his honor, and he vowed to bring his wife back no matter the cost. The call to war. In response to Helen's abduction, Menelaus sought the help of his brother, Agamemnon, the most powerful king in Greece. Together, they called upon the rulers of various Greek city-states to join them in a massive campaign to retrieve Helen and punish Troy. This wasn't just about one woman. It was about restoring Greek honor and proving their dominance over Troy, a wealthy city that controlled crucial trade routes in the Aegean Sea. One by one, the greatest warriors of Greece answered the call. Among them was Odysseus, known for his cunning and intellect, who initially resisted joining the war, but was eventually persuaded. Then there was Ajax, a giant of a man whose strength was unmatched on the battlefield. But the most famous of all was Achilles, a demigod and warrior whose skills were unparalleled. Achilles, however, was reluctant to fight. According to prophecy, he knew that if he went to Troy, he would achieve everlasting glory, but he would also meet his death. Despite this knowledge, Achilles chose to sail with the Greeks, driven by the desire for fame and honor, knowing that his name would live on forever if he fought in the Trojan War. The Greeks launched a massive fleet, reportedly consisting of 1,000 ships, setting sail for the shores of Troy. As they landed, they prepared for what they thought would be a swift victory. But Troy, a city with high, impenetrable walls and strong defenses, would prove to be a far more formidable foe than the Greeks had anticipated. The long siege and the clash of heroes. For 9 years, the Greeks laid siege to the city of Troy. It was a brutal and exhausting conflict, with both sides suffering heavy losses. The Greeks tried to breach the city walls, but Troy, led by its wise King Priam and defended by its heroic Prince Hector, held firm. The war became a stalemate, with neither side able to gain a decisive advantage. During this time, the war wasn't just fought on the battlefield, It was a battle of egos, strategies, and personal rivalries. Achilles, the greatest of the Greek warriors, found himself at odds with Agamemnon, the leader of the Greek forces. The tension between them came to a head when Agamemnon took a captive woman named Briseis, who had been awarded to Achilles as a prize of war. Furious, Achilles withdrew from the battle, leaving the Greeks without their most powerful warrior. With Achilles out of the fight, the Trojans began to gain the upper hand. Hector, the valiant prince of Troy, led his forces in a series of successful attacks against the Greeks. Hector wasn't just a warrior. He was a man of honor and integrity, fighting to protect his family and his city. He knew that the odds were against Troy, but he continued to lead with courage and determination. The tragedy of Patroclus and the return of Achilles. The turning point came when Patroclus, Achilles' close friend and companion, donned Achilles' armor and led the Greek forces into battle, hoping to inspire the men in Achilles' absence. Patroclus fought bravely, but he was no match for Hector. In a fierce duel, Hector killed Patroclus, believing him to be Achilles. When Achilles learned of his friend's death, he was consumed with grief and rage. Patroclus had been like a brother to him, and Hector's victory felt like a personal betrayal. Achilles swore vengeance. He returned to the battlefield, now driven not by glory or honor, but by a burning desire for revenge. The duel between Achilles and Hector was one of the most legendary moments of the war. Hector, knowing that he could not win, stood his ground, accepting his fate. Achilles, blinded by fury, easily overpowered him. After killing Hector, Achilles did not show mercy. He tied Hector's body to his chariot and dragged it around the walls of Troy, a shocking display that horrified both the Trojans and the Greeks. Even the gods were outraged by Achilles' actions. Zeus, seeing the dishonor done to Hector's body, ordered Achilles to return it to Priam for a proper burial. In one of the most poignant moments of the war, Priam, the king of Troy, snuck into the Greek camp and knelt before Achilles, begging for the return of his son. Moved by Priam's plea, Achilles relented, and Hector was finally given the burial he deserved. The Trojan Horse and the fall of Troy. But even with Hector dead, Troy's walls still stood. The Greeks knew that as long as those walls remained, they could not claim victory. Desperate for a solution, they turned to Odysseus, the master of strategy and deception. Odysseus devised a plan so audacious that it has become one of the most famous tricks in military history: the Trojan Horse. The Greeks pretended to give up and sail away, leaving behind a large wooden horse as a supposed offering to the gods. The Trojans, believing the war was finally over, brought the horse into the city as a symbol of their victory. But hidden inside the horse were Greek soldiers, including Odysseus himself. That night, as the Trojans celebrated their apparent triumph, the Greeks inside the horse emerged and opened the gates for their comrades. The Greek army, which had secretly returned under the cover of darkness, stormed into the city. Troy, once thought to be impenetrable, fell in a single night. The sacking of Troy was brutal and merciless. The city was set ablaze, its people slaughtered or taken into slavery. King Priam was killed at the altar of Zeus, and Queen Hecuba and the Trojan women were taken captive. Even Helen, whose beauty had sparked the war, was returned to Greece with Menelaus. The fall of Troy marked the end of an era. The mighty city, once a symbol of power and wealth, was reduced to ruins, its people scattered. But the legacy of the Trojan War would live on, immortalized in the epic poems of Homer, the Iliad and the Odyssey, and countless other retellings throughout history. The story of the Trojan War is more than just a tale of gods, heroes, and battles. It's a reflection of the complexities of human nature, our capacity for love and vengeance, honor and betrayal. It's a reminder that even the greatest of civilizations can fall, and that the actions of a few can shape the destiny of many. Though historians continue to debate whether the Trojan War was based on real events, its influence on Western culture is undeniable. The characters and themes of the Trojan War continue to inspire literature, art, and film, reminding us that the stories of the past still have the power to captivate and move us. Thank you for joining us on this journey through one of the greatest legends of ancient history. The battle for Troy may have ended long ago, but its echoes can still be heard today. Until next time, keep exploring the history